Hello, beautiful people. Today is 17th of June. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll see a very relevant quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He says that economy must serve human needs rather than human beings becoming fodder for the GDP. So, guys, here the relation of the end versus means have been given. By the way, Mahatma Gandhi was a pursuer of the deontological philosophy and therefore shared the ideas with the Kant, the German philosopher, also. Now, here the relation has been shown that human beings are the end, they are the purpose, they are the goal. Rather, they are not the way to reach the higher GDP, they are not the vehicles. Now, this particular thing becomes very much important due to the ongoing migrant crisis which is going on. For example, the UP government had changed the provisions of a Factories Act and has used the section number 5 where the working hours have been improved. Why? Because the industrial growth has to be restored, GDP is needed to be restored. So what is happening here? The people or the migrant are being used as a vehicle, as a mean, rather not as a end. So guys, this could be an important moral question into your GS paper ethics 4. So please consider this statement and this quote if a question comes. Now guys, coming to the main question that I gave you yesterday. So the question is that the Sino-India rivalry is not a bilateral issue but wrapped under geopolitical and geostrategic concern which calls for the calculative move to reduce the tension. Comment by citing historical incidents. Now guys, first of all, every day I tell you that you should divide your answer into three distinct parts, that is an intro, body and conclusion. Now, here two important keywords have been mentioned, that is geopolitical and geostrategic. So, political means something to do with the ideology for your political inclination, your relations, and all this kind of thing. So, onto the geopolitical fronts, we can see that two countries have distinct notions. China is a communistic country, whereas India is a representative democracy. Then the China's inclination is always towards the conservation of the status quo, where India is more open to the ideas, and now even the inclination towards USA brings the fractures between the geopolitical synchronizations in both the country. After that, on geopolitical front, the India had always propagated the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, fundamental rights, and all that kind of thing, whereas China had always prepared for the state sponsored heavy handedness. So, guys, there are the distinctions, and these distinctions lead to a kind of an ideological dispute. Then there is a geostrategic concern. So geostrategic concerns is because of the boundary disputes that is between the India and China. For example, if we consider the J&K sector, then you know that China has a control on over the Aksai Chin region. Moreover, the China-Pakistan economic corridor also passes from the POK, and India is not participating into the Belt and Road Initiative, and this happens to be a major irritant and is bringing the geostrategic angle to the entire relation. And now, guys, these things pronounce the insecurities of China. And due to this thing, rivalry is now brewing up. Now, it has said that cite by the historical incident. So, what historical incident is there? There can be two. One is the 1962 war, and other is the 1967 conflict into both the countries. So from historical angle, there is a issue going on. So guys, these are the content point areas or territories where you can venture. However, some distinct format of writing you are free to adopt. So guys, that's all, and now let's go to the newspaper analysis. Guys, here we can see that an unfortunate event has occurred and 20 Indian soldiers have died in a face-off that occurred at the Galwan Valley. Now, earlier Indian Army released a statement in which it was said that the three soldiers have died, which included one colonel rank officer and two other Jawans. But later it was said that there were 17 others also who were injured, but now they have also succumbed to their injuries and have died. So therefore the toll has reached to the 20 soldiers. Now friends, this standoff occurred at the Galwan Valley, which we had discussed earlier. In fact, we had discussed all these positions, the Galwan, Gogra, Fingers region, etc. Now this particular region, as we had seen, was never into the dispute, and this is the first time that such massive standoff is taking place here. Now guys, this particular retaliation is also being compared to the 1967 retaliation which was done by China into the Nathula. There also the dispute started with the one-to-one physical skirmishes. Guys, you can see here that the no firing took place during the confrontation. So in 1967 also this kind of thing happened, and it unfolded into a full-fledged standoff. So guys, this kind of strategy is now also being taken place. Now, into this all this aftermath, what could be the way forward? Because earlier we had seen the history, the origin, the flashpoints, everything. So into the way forward, you need to provide some academic diplomatic way forwards. For example, we had talked about the silent diplomacy, where the retaliation occurs at the bilateral levels, and in this particular way we had achieved the de-escalation in 2013, Depsang incursions in 2014, Chumar incursions, as well as in 2017 into the Doklam matter. So guys, this particular could be a way you can put it. Moreover, there could also be a consideration into the non-aligned path of India, as we had seen that it might be increasing the insecurities. Guys, why we are talking about this? Because truce is very much important than the war when the national security and the well-being of the entire nation is concerned. So at that point of time, always the diplomatic truce is preferred. Moreover, guys, into all these diplomatic channels, these peace treaties could be mentioned, which has been clearly violated. In 1993, 1996, self restraint has clearly been mentioned, but it has not been abided by the Chinese troops. However, friends, as you know that onto the social media as well as on YouTube, a large number of speculation and all such kind of propaganda theories are going on. I'll advise you to refrain from that particular thing, because then it will not be usable academically for our purpose. Moreover, we need to see that how the matter will develop further. So that's it, and now let's go to the next news. Guys, into the aftermath of rising number of COVID-19 cases, there was acute shortage of hospital beds. In that particular capacity, advice was given to the Delhi government that they should allow to convert the hotels into the COVID-19 facility. So in this direction, hotels are being attached to the hospitals. So guys, though one hotel has been attached, but still there are 30 to 35 hotels which are into the pipeline to be converted into the dedicated COVID-19 facility. Now, this is a much appreciated step given the acute shortage of hospitals. However, guys, much more other things can also be done. For example, the railway coaches can be used, then the school as well as stadiums could be used as a quarantine facility. Moreover, guys, private hospitals can be taken by the government onto the reimbursement basis and can be used. So, guys, that's all about this, and now we'll move to next. Now, guys, you might be knowing that the Lonar Lake was turned pink, and in that particular respect, now the High Court has seeked a report why the color is changing. Now, guys, to catch up, the pink color was earlier attributed that the Donalella salina, which is an algae, along with the halobacteria, when the salinity increases, they secrete carotenoids, and these carotenoids give a red color pigment. And now, as the water level is very much low here, and salinity is rising due to the combination of Donalilla and Halobacteria, the pink color has came. However, meanwhile, one more issue has came out. Now, guys, by a NASA scientist, it has been announced that there is glass formation on the surface of the bedrock of the lunar, which is made of the basaltic rock. Now, guys, in order to find the origin of this particular occurrence, High Court has directed the Geological Survey of India as well as National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, that both of them should find out that why such a kind of thing is happening. So guys, there have been two issues. One is the presence of algae, another is this glass formation, and now the third one more issue is coming. Now guys, what has happened? Into the vicinity of the Lonar Lake, a road project is being undertaken, that is Lonar Kini Road. Now, this particular road passes from the ejecta blanket region of the lake. Now, a question comes that what does this means? So, you might be knowing that the Lunar Lake was created when a meteorite hit the earth. Now guys, when this meteorite hit the earth, it was scattered into the fragments and its remnants were scattered into the region. Now, these remnants are called as the ejecta blanket, and these remnants are similar to the samples of moon that has been brought back by the Apollo mission. Moreover, guys, it is also being said that the structure of these samples is similar to what a diamond looks like prior to its final formation. So, in that particular direction, the High Court had said that this construction should also be stopped because there could be theft or the pilferage. Moreover, it is also being said that when such utility was there, then how the environmental impact assessment was cleared. Now guys, environmental impact assessment report is mandated under Environmental Protection Act 1986, and the rules have been notified in 2006, which are called as EIA 2006 rules. Now guys, it has been said that any project which is taking into the eco sensitive or environmentally sensitive region, there they need to testify what will be the impacts. And EIA is mandatory for the mining project, thermal project, river valley infrastructure, and industries. Whereas for other projects, it is to be seen whether to be taken or not. So now a question comes that how the EIA of this particular region was conducted. So the High Court has asked the report. Moreover, guys, as I'm telling you about the 2006, already 2020 EIA notification draft rules have been notified, and it brings some new changes. For example, certain industries have been given extension into the time limits. Moreover, public comments minimum time limit has been increased from 20 days to 30 days. However, we will not see this right now, and separately we will take it up. So guys, this is the entire issue which is going on around the Lonar Lake, and that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, we are into the editorial section, and this particular editorial talks as how COVID-19 has also provided impetus to the industrial disputes. Now, friends, into the day to day functioning, companies get involved with each other and it promises to supply the goods, services, parts, and all these kind of things. And in this particular thing, they are bound by a contract which makes a kind of a legal binding. Now, all the contracts nearly contain a provision of the force majeure, that is, in an event of act of God or any event in which any of the party doesn't have the control, then the contract can be seized. And in this force majeure, the natural calamities such as earthquake, flood, etc. are counted, and moreover, the acts of government such as lockdown, strikes, disruption of normal activity is also counted. Now, guys, as the COVID-19 has came, large number of companies are faltering onto their contracts and have described the COVID-19 as the force majeure. So, a new kind of industrial dispute is arising here, and it is needed to be ascertained whether COVID 19 could be FM force majeure or not. Now, guys, there are certain issues in this particular regard. Number one, guys, into the contracts many a times there are large number of ambiguous items according to which there could be the problem in actually identifying the force majeure, and the problems will aggravate further. Secondly, guys, the matters will be going to the court, and the court's expeditious rulings are needed into this particular direction. Otherwise, the trust of the corporates onto the justice will be eroded, and it will be bad for the ease of doing business in India. So therefore court rulings should be very much fast. Thirdly, there is actually no comprehensive public policy also into this particular regard. So government should also come out with a public policy so that this kind of thing is dealt. Now guys, the issue I told you earlier is that whether COVID-19 could be the force majeure or not. So in that particular direction, actually the disruption was caused by the lockdown and not by the virus. So guys, the companies need to again ascertain their claims onto the basis of lockdown and not onto the basis of COVID-19. Fifthly, guys, there are even other entities which are wanting to take the unnecessary advantage of a force majeure. For example, there are the electric discoms or the distribution companies who provide you the electricity. Now they buy the electricity from the electricity producers, and into between them there is power purchase agreement where the discoms promise to the producer that they will buy specific energy at a specific price. Now discoms don't want to pay to the producer and violating their PPAs, but the issue comes that even if the lockdown was imposed, the producers were making the electricity, and even discoms have provided that electricity to the establishments which were essentially allowed, or to the residential establishments. So there could be an ambiguity here. Moreover, guys, even the essential entities are taking the advantage of the force majeure and are rendering the contracts as unjustifiable. For example, there was a ruling which is given by the Bombay High Court where has said that the steel entities cannot claim the force majeure because it was an essential entity and was allowed to work. Now, guys, coming to the next issue. So, airlines have also invoked the force majeure and had cancelled their flights. Now, guys, into this particular thing, airlines have a contract with the people who have bought the ticket, and this contract is also being rendered as unexecutable. But there is also one more principle, that is the principle of restitution, according to which even if you are not able to perform the contract, you need to pay back the money. So now airlines might not operate, but they need to pay back the money to the people who have booked the tickets. But what has been done by the airline? They have provided them the credits or the coupons by which they can book the ticket into the times to come. So guys, it they are indirectly creating an obligation onto the consumer that he necessarily had to book the ticket from the such airline provider, and this is also a violation onto the front of airlines. After that, guys, there is one more issue, that is the issue of the cinema halls or to the multiplexes. Now, guys, these people don't want to pay back their rent because they say that the COVID-19 is a force majeure and the contract to pay the rent stands violated here. Now, guys, the thing is that the into these rental arrangements such kind of a facility cannot be given. Moreover, there is only one possibility when the cinema halls or any person might not pay the rent, that is when there is the physical harm to the property. But due to the COVID-19, there has been no physical harm. Then ninthly, now there are the people who have taken a loan against their businesses, and now as the business activities have gone down, they are citing the loss of their income, and now they want the compensation from the insurance companies. So there is again the problem that the insurance companies can compensate if there is a physical harm or natural disaster. So guys, there is again a problem. Now guys, what we had seen such large number of cases. So here the judiciary as well as government proactively needs to come with large number of directions, so that this entire attempt does not turns into the opportunistic attempt. Moreover, the industrial relations should not also derail, because it will further impact the economic activities and will erode the ease of doing business in India. So guys, these are the issues associated here and can be highly important for your GS paper number 3, industrial relations. Now we'll move to next. Friends, this particular editorial provides some alternative strategies as how returning demographic dividend, that is migrants, could be accommodated. So into the present times, we have seen that a large number of reverse migration has occurred and large number of migrants have returned back to their villages. Now guys, a large number of people have worked into the skilled or semi-skilled enterprises. Therefore, they are equipped with the skill. Moreover, even the economic desperation is such that they have the will to work, but simply the work is not available there. And how the state governments are responding? They are responding by the MG Narega scheme. But you know, MG Narega scheme have certain limitations. Number one limitation is that there needs to be adequate number of work sites, and if these sites are not available, simply people cannot be accommodated. Second thing is that these work sites are closed during the monsoon season. Therefore, now the season of June and July will again be problematic. Then, guys, inherent notion of MG Narega or the design of MG Narega is such that it provides employment for the unskilled type of work. So, guys, in this particular thing, the skilled workers will be rendered ineffective. Moreover, if skill is not practiced enough, then it also becomes useless. So therefore, in this particular direction, a different kind of response is needed. So guys, therefore, all the stakeholders, for example, the people propagating the cooperative movement or the people associated with the skill development programs, poverty eradication programs, or the NGOs, they should come together and explore out of box idea. And this out of box idea is that these skilled and semi skilled workers should be organized into the cooperative societies. First of all, the ones who don't understand, cooperative society is a body which works onto the principle of pooled membership, where all the members come together, they bring some money and they work for their common objective. So how the cooperatives will be helping here? So guys, just for a reference, we'll take example of the tailors. Now there are large number of tailors who might have come into the rural areas, and earlier they were might be working into some industries, factories, or might be having their own venture also. So if a large number of tailors will organize into the cooperatives, so they can directly procure the contracts from the garment industries, and therefore their livelihood opportunities will be drastically improved. Then guys, there are the specific bank schemes which aim to provide the credit to the cooperative societies, and in this particular direction they can also get the better credit and can enhance their production units also. And if we better analyze this particular situation, India also faces a problem of regional unequal development. And in such a way, into the interiors, if the units and industries will be established, then that the problem of regional inequality will also be reduced. So guys, in this direction, the things could be done, but for the people who have a specific skill set. What about the people who don't have a specific skill set? So by forming the cooperatives, they can make a kind of a trade union, and then they can enter into the cities, and then they have a better bargaining capacity and can ask for the better wages, decent standard of living, basic housing, basic insurance facilities from their employer, and employer will also be bound to give, seeing their capacity and numbers. And to form as a legal entity, they can also take the help of various NGOs, self-help groups, and the civil societies. Now guys, the power of cooperative has already seen through the example of Amul, which started as a cooperative into the Gujarat and now had become one of the largest dairy, not into the India but also into the world. So following the example of Amul, this thing holds a great potential. So now guys, there is a need that the structural changes are made into the India with respect to the labor setup. Laborer needs to be made much more empowered, because not only the economic prosperity, wealth, regional inequality will be done away, rather a kind of a sustainable development, or the development which is distributed for everyone will also come. So this, in this particular direction, the support of government, NGO, self-help group, etc. is required. So guys, adequate action on this line can lead to much better results. So that is all, and now we'll move to next. Now friends, this particular editorial talks about certain flashpoints which might have been missed. Now guys, as the COVID-19 is proceeding, the health facilities into the urban areas are overwhelmed and there is the shortage of beds. And the three major metropolitans, that is Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi, is facing the brunt. Now guys, into all this context, what about the rural areas? Till now, the number of cases as well as death are both low into the rural areas, and everybody is at comfort that rural area will be spared. But this particularly thing only points out that there could be the wave into the rural areas too, and then it will actually be very much catastrophic. Why? Because the two particular variables are absent into the rural areas which are very much needed for the avoidance of COVID-19, that is the education and the health infrastructure. And at the same time, nearly 65% population of India resides into the rural areas. Now guys, it is being said that there are two distinct waves of COVID-19 that are going on. First wave is into the urban areas, which is nearly peaking, whereas the other wave is into the rural areas, which has just begun. Moreover, guys, when the lockdown was announced, at that point of time, rural area was hardly impacted. But now, as this wave is now going up, the lockdown has been removed and the restriction, social distancing, nobody is following here. Moreover, guys, as the migration into the rural areas had came, there are also instances that people might have picked up the virus during their journeys or from the urban centers, and now they are being implanted here. And as I have told you that health infrastructure is absent, there will be huge catastrophe on this particular front. So, guys, there are certain prescriptions which has been given by the article. Number one is the most important, which we had discussed, that is the social vaccine, which involves instilling habits such as social distancing, wearing of mask, etc. Now, guys, in the social vaccine, decentralized approach should be needed, and all the stakeholders at the village level, taluk level, and even at the district level should be involved. Moreover, guys, into this decentralized approach, all the mediums of communication, that is print, radio, TV, electronic, all should be adopted so that people can get a message more effectively. Now, when we are talking about the decentralized approach and social vaccine, there is a hurdle, that is the women and the children. And if they are taught, then this particular protocol can be followed very effectively. So, in this particular direction, the habits such as wearing of mask should be made as a part of the behavior of the people. After that, with respect to the containment of cases, systematic approach is needed to be adopted. For example, guys, right now the large number of cases will increase because of the migration that is going from urban to the rural areas. So such reverse migration should be blocked. Moreover, guys, there should be the mandatory quarantining of the people who are moving from the red zone to the green zone. After that, there is also need to protect the existing health infrastructure. Therefore, the symptomatic or asymptomatic COVID-19 patient should not frequent the primary healthcare facilities. So that thing also needed to be taken care of. Moreover, guys, there should be the enhancement of home treatment for the asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic patient, and their condition regularly can be checked with by seeing the dissolved oxygen level into their blood. And for that particular thing, they should be provided with the finger pulse oximeter, and here the asha workers can assist if they are given the proper ppe suits and all that kind of stuff. Then finally, the patients of the non-communicable diseases should be treated via the telemedicine, which should be manned by the experienced doctors. However, on this particular front, that is telemedicine, there could be large shortcomings due to the proper connectivity as well as a software infrastructure, but government should work onto the urgent basis here. So friends, all these are the things which the state governments as well as the panchayats need to focus, because as the time will be going to pass, though urban areas will cease to be the hotspot, but the new hotspots will arise into the rural areas. So guys, these are all the issues here, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here a prospective treatment drug for COVID 19 has been found. If you remember, just a couple of days ago, we had discussed about the recovery trial, which are sponsored by the Oxford University, under which various vaccines are being repurposed. Repurposed means that they are existing there, now they are diverted for the treatment of COVID 19. So, into this recovery trial, one of the drug was being tested, that was dexamethasone. And guys, it has been identified that this particular drug shows great result into the critical patients of COVID-19, and by one third that fatality rate or the death rate can be reduced. Now guys, this one third recovery is for the people who are onto the ventilator support. Moreover, guys, not only it shows the promising results, it is also very much cheap. For less than 10 rupees, it is retailing at the medicine, and in India, large number of generic producers are making this particular drug. Moreover, guys, apart from the patients onto the ventilator support, it also shows 20% recovery rate into the patients who are onto the oxygen support. So, friends, for the critical patients, it is a very good thing and is proving to be very much game changer. However, guys, we'll not be going into the chemical composition and all that kind of thing, because that not will be useful then. So please remember, this drug could be a game changer into the times to come. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here a climate prediction report has been prepared by the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune. Now, friends, before going into the news, you might have heard about the IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, if you don't know, It is a body under the United Nations and was originally formed by two bodies, that is World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Program. Now, guys, IPCC prepares the assessment reports, and these assessment reports tell that what will be the impact of the pollution onto the environment, what climate change will be bringing, and all these kind of things. Please remember, IPCC does not publishes reports on its own. Rather, it makes a compilation of the journals that are published by the scientific communities, other organization, government, everybody. So, guys, now the IPCC will be releasing its new assessment report in the year 2022. So for that particular thing, India has also prepared its own climate report, which shows that what will be the impact of climate change onto the environment of India. By the way, this is the first climate report by the India for the upcoming century. Now it has been said that into the coming century, annual rainfalls will be increasing. Then there will be the much more severe cyclones as well as more severe droughts. So guys, it sounds a little bit strange that on one hand there will be more rain and on the other hand there will be more droughts, but this will be happening into the different parts. Now, guys, here it has also been said that what is the change into the temperature with respect to the coldest days, hottest nights. However, such minuscule data is not required. We only need to see this impact, and you can give the name of the report as well as the name of the IPCC when you are writing about the impact of climate onto the India. Now, guys, according to the report, it has been said that it will increase the stress onto the country's natural ecosystem, onto the agriculture, as well as onto the fresh water resources. Even Niti Aayog says that India will be water starved into the coming years. So, guys, these are the particular references which have been given. You can use it into your answer writing. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, into this particular news, the Assam Zoo has been mentioned, which have a very rich fauna, which could be important for our environment-related prelims question because there the statuses have been asked. Now, guys, here the Hangrebari Reserve Forest has been mentioned, which is in Assam, and within this reserve forest, the Assam Zoo has been located, where the rich fauna and 334 species are registered. Now, guys, this particular site is also very close to the Deopar Bhil, which is also a Ramsar site. However, moving forward, so guys, here certain species are mentioned, so I will tell you about them and their status. So, friends, the first is the black hooded oriole. So, oriole happens to be a bird, you can see here, and this bird has been given the status of least concerned onto the IUCN. It is found into the southern Asia as well as India along with Sri Lanka. The second one is the twin spotted tree frog. Now, guys, it is majorly found into the eastern India and towards the Southeast Asia, and it has also been given the status of the least concern. Then the third one is the black soft shell turtle. Earlier also we had discussed it. So, guys, this is found into the region of Assam as well as into the Bangladesh. Now this is very rare, and earlier it was also declared as extinct by the IUCN, but still now it is being found. So the status is the extinct into the wild. And then finally there is the red-necked keelback, which is a snake. So this snake is venomous and is endemic to Asia, means that predominantly found into the Asia, and it has been also given the least concerned status onto the IUCN red list. So guys, please remember these species. So guys, that's all. There are not much news into the business page as well as international page. Only the corporate news and COVID news, protest news are there. So let's move to the question section. Guys, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So the first question is with respect to the Tal Madale, which has been mentioned into the news with respect to the art and culture. So please try to identify the correct code. Now question number 2 is with respect to the Van Dhan Yojana, which has recently been mentioned. So guys, please consider the right statement. Now the question number 3 is with respect to the Northeastern Council. Now guys, please consider these statements and identify the right option. Now, question number 4 is with respect to the history. Please consider the statement with respect to the Kamban, who was a classical poet, and identify the right option. Now, let's take up the mains question. So it says that the freedom to form cooperative society is the right step to ensure that, guys, it is that a vibrant cooperative sector builds upon the past successes. Discuss the utility of cooperative sector for the migrant and farmers. I hope you will be able to answer it. So guys, answer the question and try to submit it for the review also onto the Telegram channel. So guys, I hope you liked our discussion. Thank you so much.